You know, when I started this project, I made kind of a hit list of the type of people that I wanted to talk to, you know, right away. With this episode, I check one of those off my list. But before we get into all that, of course, I got a handful of stuff I want to throw your way. If this is the first time you're joining me, I appreciate you jumping in. And this is one of two different formats that I have for the show here. This is a long format. I have a guest or two on, most of the time one guest. And it's about 60 to 90 minutes long. We talk about just about everything. And on opposite weeks, I have B-Raw Bites, and that's just me, this microphone, y'all listening, and shit that's on my mind and I think you need to hear. And anything you want to know about the show, you can find over at brawpodcast.com. That's the website. Got a little bit of everything there. Blogs, other podcasts I've been on. You want a little sunshine in your inbox once a month? I do a real lighthearted newsletter. That's right on the front page. Get a hold of me if you want, or you can hit me up at Instagram at B-Raw Podcast. Much love going out to the couple companies that help me, you know, maintain this project, and I would love for you to check them out and make sure you give them a ton of shit for me when you go over there. Links are in the show notes, and I use this stuff on the regular. And first up is High Speed Daddy. They make tactical baby equipment like backpacks, lunch boxes, and a ton of other stuff. Craig does a great job over there. I love this equipment. Of course, Live Rishi. If you haven't been following me for too long, I've been using this shit over a decade, and it's high quality CBD product. As we speak, I got a bunch of the Rishi rub on my lower back. I tweaked that a little bit, throwing some iron a couple days ago. And of course, the tincture works amazing. Again, both links are in the show notes. Check them out and give them hell for me as well. And who doesn't love a good quote? I do, and I got them piled up here on my desk, and I've been adding them to the beginning of each show, and I try to make the quote relevant to the episode, and this is a good one. And it's by Dan Reed. He's a professional poker player, and it goes, "You will show your poker greatness by the hands you fold, not the hands you play." Took me many years to have that truly sink in. And if you're a poker player, I think you would understand. All right, let's get to this. What is it? B-Raw Podcast. Simple, powerful, and real. Got Casino King on today. I found this guy on YouTube. Love his videos. Even if you're not a poker player, I think you'll be highly entertained by this guy's content. And after speaking with him, I really enjoyed our time together and following his journey. How he became a professional poker player is one crazy story. But you know what? I'm going to let him tell you all about it. Let's get to it. I like my merch stuff too, and I like the old style king you got. Is that like the hotel stuff?
Thanks. No, I mean, wait, you mean like the king that's behind me in like the logo, or like this king?
The king on your sweater. Is that supposed to be like the old, like the old casino signs and stuff?
Yeah. It's just supposed to be. So I was messing around with different logos, and I was messing with the diamonds, and then I just saw the diamonds, and then I typed in king in the middle of it, and that's just kind of how it came up. So I was looking for something that I could repeat that wasn't so like. So I don't know if you've seen my profile picture, but it's like an animated version of me, and I can't really put that on shirts, you know. So this is kind of what took off for me in my mind. And when I say take off, I mean I'm the only person that has this stuff. But I like
we're all a legend in our own mind, right?
Absolutely, I'm a king, you know, a king in my own mind.
That's awesome. So I found you on YouTube. Your videos, dude, are phenomenal. I love the sarcastic stuff. And for some reason, hang on, I'm sorry, man. For some reason, there we go. They're not stuffy at all. Thanks. Yeah. I don't know if that's what you were going for or not, but the comment, like, go ahead.
No, it's like, it's a journey. I think it's a huge compliment that you found me on YouTube, because a lot of people just know me from TikTok. So the fact that you've seen my YouTube's kind of taken off in the last month. So it's nice to know that you found me via YouTube, because basically every other person that knows me is from TikTok up until this point.
Has YouTube been treating you all right?
Yeah. You mean like in terms of views, or in terms of finances, or I mean it's always a little bit of a feeling out process with these different sites, right? Like Facebook for a while was the one that paid the most. TikTok never pays. And then Instagram, I don't even know why I have one. But YouTube, they're kind of figuring it out. I'm really making a big push there. That's my next big push is YouTube. So they're definitely the ones that care for creators the most.
So YouTube, or I'm sorry, Instagram doesn't do well for you?
It does well in terms of views, and brands really care about Instagram, but it doesn't pay me a cent, which is hilarious because it seems like Meta, they own Facebook and Instagram. They need all the views that they can get. So Instagram doesn't pay at all. Facebook used to pay light years more than everybody else, but then they took away the Reels play bonus for people. And that was like, for some people, that was like a 10K swing a month. So definitely it was a crazy change when they did that. But I think they were banking on TikTok getting banned. So now that TikTok hasn't been banned, it'll be interesting to see where they go.
Now, I love your story with you having a corporate job, pulling the ripcord, following a passion, which commendable. And for people that don't know, and I'm going to put the link to the video that you did, was like 8 minutes that puts out your journey. But you want to give a recap real quick so everybody knows what the hell we're talking about?
Yeah. So I basically went to college to study video production. I always thought I wanted to make movies, wanted to be on TV. And one thing led to another, and I'm a big sports fan. So I sort of just got into sports media and really went all in on sports media for about 4 years and moved out to LA, worked at NFL Network, worked at some other startup companies, Yahoo Sports, and was working up the corporate ladder. And I really thought I was making it. I thought this was like the dream. And then one day I woke up and realized that wasn't the dream anymore, and that I wasn't making videos anymore since I moved up into management. I was making tough decisions in terms of management, people, what do you do as a company moving forward? And I was blessed to be a part of those conversations, but it wasn't making me happy. If anything, it was kind of just depressing, like it's a tough world out there right now. And in the meantime, I had started this just fun TikTok account during the pandemic that was just me posting videos about casinos. And I never thought it would actually turn into anything. And then a couple viral videos later, I all of a sudden had about 10, 20K followers. And, about a year ago from today, which is why I was so excited to do this podcast, I reached out to Phil Hellmuth and was like, hey, like, would you want to just do an interview? Like, could you just spare some time and sit down with me? And he made time, and there's no reason he should have made time for me. Like I'm still a nobody, but it changed my life. After that interview, those went viral. My following went from 20K to 100K, and now I'm at like 150, close to 150. I think I'm still at 136 on TikTok, but in general, it opened up doors in my life I never thought would be available. So now I've just recently quit my job and I'm full-time content creation, and just went out to the World Series of Poker this month. So it's been quite the journey. Whew. I don't know if that's the video. That might have been longer than the video.
No, that's all right though. That's a hell of a recap, because how many people do you think, well, I know a ton of people that would just love to basically obviously swap out your corporate job for what they're passionate about, but basically do what you just did. They would love that. And then I think it's great that you reached out to Phil Hellmuth, just like, why not? Right? Because one of my favorite sayings is, the answer is no if you don't ask.
100%. 100%.
Yep. I mean, my wife rolls her eyes, and I have a 2-year-old son, and I'll ask you about that stuff too. But we're at the grocery store, and lady's like, it's $168. I go, can you pay for that? And she's like, no. And I go, oh, the answer's always no if I don't ask. And she's like, I've never had anybody ask me that before. But obviously those are jokes. But the thing is, though, I've had people come on here and look at you. I thought your stuff was cool, and I was like, hey, man, I got to reach out to this guy. I've been ghosted so many times. And that doesn't bother me because I've been in sales my whole life. So And then I was interested in having you on because of the videos I watch. Then I trolled you and I was like, holy shit, this guy's got a hell of a story. So yeah, the whole, I didn't know anything about your corporate job and you just recently quitting and all that. I had no idea about that when I reached out to you. So
Wow.
that was pretty cool I just thought your content was great. And
Thanks.
I owned a video photo production company for almost 10 years. So
It's crazy.
it's
crazy how much it's changing, like video in general. 10 years ago, 15 years ago, it's just, and 10 years from now, it'll be so different, But really quick though, based on your thing that you said, the answer is always no if you don't ask. Like number one that goes through my head when you say that is like, I just never want to be the person telling myself no. I'll make somebody else tell me no, but like, I'm never going to tell myself that I'm not going to be the person that says no, because so many things are possible. And I think you're saying is 100% correct.
Yeah, I want to write that down. I like that as well, because people are like, no, I'm not going to do that because if he says no, or going by what you just said, telling themselves that I'm not going to do that because Aunt Sally might think that that's weird, or get out of here, just blow it up. Who cares?
Right.
And actually nobody really cares. So just go and do what makes you happy. But
nobody matters.
So your ace jack behind you, real quick, I got a story for you. I'm creating a shirt that has ace jack like you're peeling it. And for people that don't know the saying, like you're peeking under it at the table, and it's obviously going to be ace jack, and underneath it's going to say fold and forget.
That's you're going to give that advice away for free, huh? You're just that's just like
fold
for that.
Yeah, no shit. Just ace jack, just fold it, forget about it. Because when I was taught how to play back in 2008, when poker became really popular, Hold'em, I was playing, old school games, obviously, doing all that. Get into Hold'em, and my ex-wife, her husband, her dad taught me like the ins and outs of Hold'em. So I think it was one bet. Was that the game back then? The black and yellow one bet, something like that. Anyway, that was the online version that everybody was playing. So I'd sit there at his house on a big computer, and he'd be like showing me position and, doing the math and, that kind of stuff, basic stuff. And he goes, one thing I want to teach you is fold and forget. Because if you're like, okay, I'm way out of position, I'll fold queen 10. And then you're watching it and 10-10 queen flop, and you're like, see, if I stayed in. And then next thing you know, you're broke. So that's where the fold and forget comes in. Fold and forget.
It's already hard enough to fold, let alone the forgetting part is easier said than done. Like that's something that has derailed me quite a few times. Twice I would have flopped quads, and then I lost it in my head and then ended up busting, a level later. And it's just, you're 100% right, but it's so hard. It's so hard to forget, you want to win every hand, which is not smart advice.
No. Yeah. Right. And what do they say? 7 out of 10 hands you fold, or 7 out of 8 hands you fold, something like that. Crazy. But you started with blackjack. You still play a lot of blackjack?
Yeah, usually when I play blackjack, it's after I've busted a tournament. There's no more rebuys, but I'm not ready to go home. So usually, like I busted the tournament, I'm on the way out. Sometimes it's a bounty tournament where I picked up $100 for knocking somebody out. Instead of just putting that in my pocket and heading out, that little voice in your head, it's like, what if we just played for like an hour, and then that's really 10 minutes and then I'm out the door.
Yeah, sure.
So I do play blackjack, but I don't seek it out. I'd never go to a casino just to play blackjack anymore, which an 18-year-old me would think is crazy.
Back in the day, well, I guess 18 years old, you didn't know much about Hold'em, right? You were just playing blackjack at that time?
Yeah. It was like I stumbled upon the casino when I was 18, because in Minnesota, the gambling age is 18. And so blackjack was just easy to learn. I saw all the poker tables, but that was really intense, and I kind of wanted to just mindlessly play cards. I thought I was super lucky and going to make it rich playing blackjack. So I won like $1,000 maybe my first 2 times playing, one of the first couple times I went. And so, you know how your brain works when you're a kid, and you're just like, I'm already invincible, but now I'm lucky. And so that's what got me on the blackjack train. And then when I went out to LA, they were charging, they charge you 25 cents a hand, no matter what. So it's like you just put your bet down, but then you have to give them 25 cents. Win or lose, you lose that 25 cents. And I was like, this is bullshit. Like, I don't want to play this. And then they had the poker tables there. And so one night after a couple of drinks, I was like, I'm going to give that a try. And, the rest was history.
So, yeah, because no story ever started with when I was having a salad, I tried this, right?
The kale was speaking.
Yeah, exactly. Man, that dressing was horrible. Oh, man, that really got to me. We're in Michigan. You said Minnesota?
Yeah, Minneapolis. I live in the cities.
Oh, okay. My ex-wife is from the UP.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, way up there.
I was born in East Lansing, so I have a piece of Michigan in me, but I live in Minnesota now. So,
okay.
But I definitely.
Right.
Where are you located?
Jersey.
Okay.
I spent most of my life in Colorado. So to give you an idea on that, it was because you were making some fun comments about Spirit Airlines. I think they bought Allegiant back in the day. So back when I was in Colorado, it was a $69 round trip air flight from Colorado Springs to Vegas from Thursday to Sunday. So
wow.
it was $35 for the taxi ride from the airport to the casino.
It's a good deal.
Well, I was like, dude, you're charging me more just to get from the airport to the casino than I did to get here from Colorado. But back in the day, it was Caesar's Palace was my gig, man. I used to love that place. Aria is my favorite place recently. That's a beautiful poker room.
The best advice I can give to anybody that's starting out playing poker, if you want to learn how to play poker and you don't want to get crushed, stay away from the Aria and go right to the Caesar's Palace. Like there's no, if you want to win at poker early and you kind of know what's going on a Sunday night, right when Sunday Night Football NFL is ending, go to Caesar's Palace and play, because people are at the sports book, the winners are done. It's been a long day watching football and drinking, and all of a sudden those guys want to play poker. Those are the people you want to play against when you're learning poker. You don't want to be at the Aria where it's $20 minimum hands to play any table games, and those guys are there to. I love the Aria for sure, but Caesar's Palace has got the action.
Aria will eat you alive if you don't know what's going on. Caesar's, you're spot on with Caesar's Palace, because back in the day, they would have. They would set up late at night. They would set up 1-3 no limit up at the front. And I knew some people, and we'd land there. And of course, everybody coming through the clubs and all that. And you just eat their lunch. And it's like, I made rent for the month. So,
yep.
Yeah. You go out to Vegas quite a bit?
I try to. I mean, it really depends on the year. When I used to live in LA. So when I lived out there, I went, 5 times a year. But now that I live in Minnesota, I'm lucky to get out there once or twice a year. Now that I'm doing this, I think that I'll be out there more often. But it's tough with a kid. A kid changes your life a lot, and so. I think next time I'm going to get out there, I'm going to try to get out there for the Win Millions, which is a little bit later this year. It's kind of like a mini WSOP. So that'll probably be the next time I'm out in Nevada. But I love it out there.
Yeah, I do too. I'm a huge Vegas fan. Where else do you see the poker scene pretty good in the United States?
Yeah, so I mean, I haven't actually played in Atlantic City. I have a good buddy that lives up there that plays there a bunch, but he plays mixed games. So I can't gauge it too much off there. But next month I'm heading down to the Lodge in Austin, so I'm gonna test that out. They have a huge tournament, like $1 million guarantee. And then I know that just from what I've seen, the cash games down there are nuts. So I'll report back on what Texas is like. I haven't forgotten it yet. But here in Minnesota, there's a 2-100 spread limit. So we don't even have no limit cash games. So that part's really tough. it's a totally different game post flop, where you're kind of $100 max bet. So that's why I mainly just play tournaments here.
And then, so what's the tournament scene like in Minnesota? They got pretty decent.
Yeah. There's two casinos by me. There's Canterbury, and then there is Running Aces. Both of them offer multiple tournaments a day usually. So you can play in an early morning, you can play in a late. There's like, I think the max buy-in that you can find is like a 250. So there's not really like a high stakes tournament. Every once in a while, there's like the MSPT that comes through, and then there's like $1,000 main event that you can buy into. But there's a lot of good players. I mean, you play in Vegas, like I said, it's kind of like the Aria thing. Everybody that's at the casinos in Minnesota kind of do it a lot, and it's not necessarily a tourist thing. So it's tougher for sure. But you can always find a game.
Well, that's here locally down in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania. It takes me about an hour to get there, and they have a nice tournament every Thursday night. So It's just nice. Yeah, and it's nice to go down there, and I've become a local down there basically, and it's a good game.
You play every week?
Just about.
That's nice. Yeah. It's nice to have that. You need that one day. That's kind of like my deal with my wife is like, you go to get a massage or do whatever you want to do one night a week, and then I'm going to go punt at least $120, maybe $240 at the local casino, depending on how many buy-ins I need. But that's
this one here. It's $150 buy-in, unlimited rebuys, till the first break. Yep. But if you're in Atlantic City, not too far from their Philadelphia live casino, they always have a huge, $450, $650 buy-in, and multiple stages and flights and all that kind of stuff. So those are really good tournaments.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. The room is run really well. The chips are nice. It's big. And I always enjoy being down there. I don't get down there nowhere near as I used to now with a 2-year-old.
Yeah. It's tough to have a multi-day tournament commitment. Unless you're really making the money, then maybe you can make it work. But it's definitely that's how I felt about the mini main. So like the mini main is like the main tournament I played out in Vegas, and it was a 3-day tournament, and I busted like right at the end of day one. Oh. And I was so depressed. Like, I mean, I think you watched my video, but I busted pretty close to the money. And I was really sad, but then I got home and my wife was like, well, that means that you don't have to play tomorrow. And I was like, yeah, I guess it does mean I don't have to play tomorrow.
Jab.
Like, you can hang out with the fam. And it's like, yes, that does. I'm very excited to do that. But
and then as you're hanging out with the family by the pool, in your mind, you're like, fuck, man, if I did 40% bigger raise on that turn, he probably would have folded. Yep. Yeah, you know the drill, right?
Yeah, I just had that last hand in my mind because it was like right on the bubble. I jammed King 10 in the button. No, it folded to me at 7 bigs. I was just like, I'm not gonna just bleed out. Small blind has ace queen, and I just in my mind, I'm like, you can't be shoving King 10. You can't be like, what are you doing? We're just like sitting in the hot tub, just relaxing, and she's like, this is so nice, isn't it? I'm like, yeah. I should have jammed King 10 though. What the hell was I?
I've been there, man. I know the pain. So you have to have your spouse, and do you mind saying her name, or we'll just call the wife?
Yeah, she's just my wife. We just call her my wife.
Okay, awesome. I respect that. And she's got to be pretty forgiving, right?
Yeah. There's ups and downs, right? Like there's we've known each other for a very long time, and so it was way before I got into video, and definitely I think when I was talking about quitting my job, there was some hesitation about like, well, this is what you've been working for so long. And, sports media, that's been kind of the journey. That's why we moved out to LA. That's why, we put in the late nights. But the last month, I have been so just happy and free. And like last night I was editing that vlog. And with my new, my new sponsorship, like it's really opened up the doors that I'm a lot more chill. And I think she's mentioned 5 to 6 times, like, man, I can't believe how happy you are. And you're so much more relaxed. And like, I think our life in general is so much better. And so, I'm very happy early on in this decision that she's actually at least noticed that. And then, my sponsorship flew us all out to out to Vegas for WSOP. So it's kind of like a family trip as well. So luckily, she's being able to see some of the early returns of kind of this, a gamble, I'll say.
Yeah. Now, is Ignition Casino the sponsor?
Yeah. We just started our deal in July.
Awesome. And then how did that come about?
Yeah. So they reached out to me on TikTok. They asked me just to make some videos for them about maybe 5 months ago. I made some videos for their TikTok account. A couple of them got 1 million views. And I think we've grown their account from 0 to 10K. And then they were like, hey, what would it take for you to kind of take the next step with us and just pump out a bunch of content? We want like, a solid amount of shorts every month, give us some vlogs. And I was like, man, I need more time, And so I kind of told them like, hey, I have my full-time job. If I could get rid of that, then I could give you more content. But right now I'm maxed out. So they were a huge part of me being able to make that decision. So that's kind of how it came about. And I've been pretty blessed with opportunities just from social media.
That's awesome. I like to hear success out of social media that come from putting the work in, to where people think that, hey man, I make 5 posts. Why am I not being able to quit my job? It's like, it's cool to hear your story going from what it's taken to be able to pull the ripcord and now do what you're doing. Very commendable, man. Very commendable.
Thank you. Yeah. It's been quite the journey. But I think that the most important thing is like anybody could do it. It just takes, like you said, it takes time, effort, and you really got to push through. You can't do it for the views. Like that is 100% what you got to do it for what's in here of like what makes you go, because otherwise just get the corporate job. If you're not, if you're not making content you want to do, you're going to be miserable long term. Right. So like got to make the content that you can make consistently and then just take subtle feedback from your audience. If one video does well, try to do that 5 more times, and that's, as long as you're not putting pressure on yourself to get millions of views, I really believe anybody can do it in this age of social media. Yeah,
there's a thing that I think about as I do these videos and my content. If I think it's interesting, there's got to be a ton of other people that think it's interesting as well. And if I'm passionate about it, same. There's got to be other people that are passionate about it. So you just kind of put yourself and let the universe come to you, right?
Yep, absolutely. And that's honestly, that's what happened to me. Is like, I just saw Wolfgang, I saw Rampage Poker, I saw these people making poker vlogs, and I was like, you know what? Like, I want to do that because I want to make more. I want to get views, and so I went out to Resorts World and like I recorded a bunch of stuff, and then I tried to be smart. Like the videos I posted, like you could probably dig them up, but it's like how to spot a bluff. And it's like just me trying to tell you how to spot a bluff, right? And do you know who spotted the bluff? Is all the comments. They were like, you don't know anything about why are you doing this? And so the video itself got a lot of views, but I got so much negative, comments. But in my mind, I was like, oh, I got a lot of views. I got to do that again. And so I worked with the casino here, and I was like, hey, like I want to film here. And they were like, sure, come on out. And I lost like $1,000 that first night, like just got crushed. And it's a $300 max buy-in. So I just kept reloading and getting crushed. And I was just so depressed driving home because I was like, I don't think I won a single hand that whole night. Oh. And then, and I was like sitting at night and I was like, just like, what the fuck? And I was like watching the videos and I was like, man, this is exactly how not to play poker. And then I was like, oh, what if I make that video? And then every one of those was 1 million, 4 million, 2.5 million, and all like, this is the best video I've ever seen. This is exactly like the most relatable thing in the world. And that's when I clicked. I was like, that's who I am. Like, I'm not ever going to master pot odds to the same extent as Danny Negreanu. So like, you should go to him for that content. But I could punt away chips with the best of them. So if you want to, if you want to watch some of that, hit that subscribe button. And that's been super freeing because I don't need to fake it anymore, which is great.
No, that's beautiful. And the content is amazing. Cause like, you're like the guy that you're like the guys I play with in my monthly tournament at the house, you know, and the shit talking, it's amazing. Yeah. It's very relatable, very relatable. So again, I enjoy them. We'll put all the links and stuff and everything. But now, what's your okay, so you stuff money away from your corporate gig and doing all that? You got a little nest egg, or did you?
Yeah. So I've been just grinding. Like the last year and a half, I was working my full-time job, and then at nighttime, I was creating content for 5 or 6 other brands' TikTok pages. So like there was other brands, which I'm not going to mention right now, but there's a bunch of other ones that I was just cranking out videos from the time of like 10 a.m. to 2 a.m. And I would just knock out. So some of these brands would just buy a month's worth of content. I would knock out 30 videos in one night and be done. And so for the last year, I was working like 7 jobs, outside of what I was doing. And so was able to save up money and then and give myself a little bit of a buffer, I would say. But then I went out to play at Hustler Casino Live and played in one of the higher stake games there and won 20 grand. So that was like a huge buffer for the poker bankroll. So long story short, I was grinding and I've saved up some money, and then now with the sponsorship and everything, I can kind of have a smooth transition into. It's not like I need to win at poker in order to pay the bills, which is great.
What? Wait a minute. Hold on. Correct me if I'm wrong. You just didn't sit on the couch and wish for it, and all of a sudden it happened, and now you live in your dream.
I forgot to mention, the mailman showed up with a box full of just $100 bills, and I was like, I forgot that was a big story.
Oh, no. Man, yeah, you got to put that in there, dude. People get confused that you actually have to work for it. That's not,
It's a big part. I mean, that's the thing that I have really going for me, is that I know the executive part of things, so I don't need an agent at this point. I've been repping myself, and I have the confidence to do that. So that's been a great kind of like a double punch, because I know a lot of influencers out there have no idea, what media contracts look like and what that world can be in terms of negotiating. And I've been able to use that, to my benefit for sure.
Absolutely. Now you obviously your bankroll, and do you sell action?
Yeah, I sometimes. So let me back up. I don't. So for World Series of Poker, I really struggled with this, because I had a lot of people when I sold action for the Hustler Casino Live cash game, and I played that game way different than I play in my vlogs. And I tried very hard, and we won. And I had a bunch of people hitting me up, and they were like, "You're the best. Thank you so much. When's the next time you're selling action? WSOP, let me know. Like I want the action." And so in my mind, I was really close to selling a full package for WSOP, including like the main event, get me into these events that I never would have been in. And I realized that I owe it to the people to not do that, because if I would win or cash the main event, I would be genuinely happy, because that's like a bucket list thing. I can't be taking people's money, to do that. So I will take action in games that I feel confident that I'm going to win in, or that I feel comfortable, but I'm not going to take action and get into games that I'm not financially comfortable playing in by myself, because I feel like I'll play scared and kind of lose in those situations. And, looking back at it, I'm really glad I didn't. So I do sell action if I play in like live stream games, but I've been staying away from tournaments because there's just so much variance.
Good for you. It's great that you expressed it that way, and that's how you think, because me personally in the past, that's exactly what I did. Somebody would say, "Hey, I'll front you for this, action, whatever agreement you come up with." And I tried it a couple times, and I played completely different with the weight of their money on my back. And I'm like, it's kind of took the fun out of it for me.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
And I know I don't have anything wrong with people that do it. No. I know there's other content creators out there that do it, but I would never get myself in a spot again in my life where I would ever owe anybody money, because that's something that I've experienced and I will never experience again, because I'm good on it. I've it's life. Sometimes you have those experiences in life and you quickly know what you're fine not having in your life again, and owing people money is one of those things. So I might sell steak, but not in a spot that I would ever owe the money back. But I would want to do it in a spot that I would feel like I could, like they're going to win.
Sure. And too, for the other person, right? Yeah, it's a form of gambling for them, but it's kind of nice to be able to give them a return on it as well. For you, given the opportunity to do what you love, right?
Yeah.
So you want to give it back, right? Do you have any advice? I was given advice, and I'm interested in what you would say about your bankroll. So there's a reason I'm asking all these questions, because the way that I'll put out this episode is, hey, I'm going to tell your story. And people are like, oh, man, I'd like to do that. So now we're getting into some finer details that, hey, this is a guy that actually did it and is doing it. That's how he did it. What's your advice with bankroll?
Yeah, so I think number one is figure out what your goal is, right? Like, is your goal to just play the Thursday tournament on a weekly basis for fun? And if you cash, that's great. And if not, then that's fine. Then that means that you're going to play recreationally and you're just having fun with it. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. If anything, that is the best way to play poker. Like that is 100% what I would say for people to do. Then I think you chop out how much, just like you would a vacation, just like you would, a game system that you want to buy, chop out a bunch of a side of money every month that you're willing to just invest in your entertainment. And that can be your bankroll. Is you shouldn't expect to get that money back. It should just be fun. And if you do cash, then that can just go back into it. Or you can use that money to buy something that you want because you were already thinking that was sunken funds that, wasn't a part of it. That's if you're going to be recreational. If you're going to try to be professional and you're trying to do this on a more of a professional basis, you need to be playing in games that you can withstand the variance. And so I think online micro stakes is where a lot of people need to start if they're really trying to build up the bankroll in terms of like a responsible way. Because a lot of times, if you're buying into $100 tournament, not my advice, but just the professional advice is like, you need at least 10 grand. So like, that's a lot of money to ask somebody to just have, because you're going to go on, if you're going to professionally play, like if you have $1,000, that means you got cash, 1 out of 10 tournaments. And that's a steep, it's a steep hill to climb. So really, I think the number one thing people need to do is figure out what their goal is and then figure out what they'd be comfortable spending that first. And then if they win, reinvest that money into their own bankroll.
Yep. So I like the idea of entertainment, right? I'm at the first thing you mentioned. I'm at that point now. You might as well light that on fire. I know I'm not getting it back, right? And if I do win something, I've kept a P&L sheet for my poker game since 2008. And for a while, it was super tight P&L, like travel time, variant, the rake. I mean, everything, right? It got really complicated. Now it's just, how much did I spend to get in? And did I win anything? That's all it is. It's not my travel time. It's not my food and hotel or whatever, Yep. And we got talking about that recently in one of the tournaments I was in. We sat down and we were probably 10 minutes in to the tournament in the first blind level. And the guy 2 seats away from me calls the pit boss over and he's like, how come you don't have the payouts up yet? I'm like, dude, there's 128 people playing in this. And you're already asking about payout? Of course, 40 minutes later, he's gone. But I'm like, are you kidding me, dude? Because I bring up, hey, man, I'm here to talk shit to you all and have a good time. And because I'll burn $150 going out with my wife, or I'll burn $150 going out with my buddies. So this is entertainment for me.
Oh, yeah.
If I can, and then in Vegas, when I was going a lot, if I could sit at a 250 tournament for 8-10 hours in Vegas, in 8 hours, you spent $250.
It's the best entertainment money can buy.
100%. And you're doing something that you love. Amazing. Yep. Amazing. Right? How long is that $250 going to last out on the casino floor? About 4.5 minutes, maybe.
Yep.
You know?
Even if you're lucky, because you're going to be doubling it, you're going to either. There's no way that you're getting 8 hours of blackjack for $250.
No. I mean, obviously, there's times that you're out in 3 hours and stuff like that, but most of the time, I could last, 6-8 hours. Your goal. You set a goal. All right, I'm going to make first break. I want to make second break. I want to make lunch or dinner break. Woo! I made dinner break. And you're all happy about it. But no, that's awesome, dude. And then, did your wife? Obviously, you had this conversation with your wife about quitting your job. How long did that conversation be? Was that 2 years ago? You're like, hey, man, this is my goal.
No, it was at the end of this year, of last year, is kind of when the conversation started. There was a moment in my career that happened that I was really close to a boss of mine. I mean, I was always close to a lot of people that I worked with, and we were at Yahoo, and he had put in a lot of time and effort, been there for 15 plus years, and was working on a Super Bowl show. And the day before the Super Bowl, they just let him go. Like, just after 15 years, the day before this show that he was working on, they let him go. And I didn't get let go. I mean, I've never actually been laid off from a job. I've actually never been in a spot where I was close to, which I'm really blessed. But it hit me. I was like, that's not going to be me. I won't do 15 years for the corporate America and then them hit me in the face with it. So I actually made that decision a while ago that, like, I wanted out of the wheel. But then last year, towards the end of it, when the finances of my side gigs were taken off, I had a conversation with my wife, and I was like, I want to do this full time. And she's a mathematical, you need somebody opposite of me in order to make a relationship work. And so she was just like, we got to make sure this matters. Like, what about insurance, yada, yada. And so on New Year's Eve, I was writing down goals for the year, and I was like, I want to be, on my own. And then I put in a goal by May. I want to prove it to myself financially that I can do it. So, like, I'm going to put the money away. I want to meet these goals. And January, I made like a sheet actually on my wall. I have like papers of just taped up every monthly goal. And I just was like, I'm going to check all these off. And so once I got to May, then I was able to be like, I'm doing it. Like, look at the numbers. And once I had the backup, like the proof, then it was a much easier conversation than just me being like mad at dinner one night,
Oh, dude, that expression, what you just said is so refreshing. Oh my God, dude. I got goosebumps because you're like, I got a goal. This is what I need to make it. I'm going to reverse engineer it down to the day, week, month. Okay, this is the numbers I need. Oh my God, that's amazing. Not many people do that. They get mad at dinner and go, I'm doing this. And 4 months later, how come this is not working? You know what I mean?
Yep.
So what do you, go ahead.
No, I'd say the last thing I'll say is when I decided to quit the job, I did it on a day that I felt indifferent. I wasn't in a big fight with my boss. There was no last straw. There was no thing that made me mad. I just said, hey, in a month from now, I'm done. And then what was so beautiful about that is that I didn't just win a bunch of money the night before and then that high was coming down. I wasn't really mad at my boss or coworkers and that started to wear off. It was just I'm feeling this way. It's a Monday. I'm making that decision. And that way, 3 weeks later, when there was a lot of conversations like, what can we do to get you to stay? Yada, yada. And I was able to just be like, no, I made that decision in a totally clear head. And it allowed me to continue with confidence in that decision. And I never had to doubt myself. So, like, even outside of that, just taking a second to neutralize your mind before you make a decision is so important, because then you can be super confident in what you've decided to do.
Awesome. Love it. You know, when I decided to quit my corporate job at year 12, I wrote up a resignation letter dated my hire date in year 20. So it was 8 years ahead. And I said, I don't care what it is. I'm leaving in 20 years. So, and they're like, everybody's like, oh my God, what are you going to do? I go, something's going to come up. Something's going to come up. I'm just going to let it. I'm putting it out in the universe that at 20 years, I want to leave, and whatever comes my way. in a year 18, I got the opportunity to move from Colorado to Jersey to build a business with a young lady, and that was just amazing. It was a great experience, and we since about 5 years ago we split up. She brought the business way down because just downsized it drastically because we built it way up, and the stuff that I brought in is still supplying her financially. The business that I brought in, and she's doing true crime documentaries, right? Because she's always been that way. The first time I got talking with her about doing business development because that's what I did at my corporate job. She goes, I can't pay you much, and I had a little side gig, and money wasn't even an issue at that point in my life. And I said, yeah, it'll be fun. It'll be a venture. I'm done out here. Let's go do something different. And she goes, I want to build this up so I can have this company running, like have you running it, so I can go make true crime documentaries. I was like, cool. All right. That'll work. And we did all that, business, lots of stories from that, but that's a whole other conversation. But I split with her, and just about a month ago, I was in one of her true crime documentaries. I was a truck driving serial killer.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah, that's the third time I've helped her out. She's like, I'm trying to get you in every documentary I do. I was like, nothing like being typocast, right?
No, it's funny is that's my favorite kind of TV, or the true crime, like Forensic Files, or like all that stuff. Like I watch it every night before I go to bed, some sort of, murder mystery documentary thing. Like, I don't know why it's my favorite, but it is. So that is so cool that she does that, but that you actually acted in that. That's pretty awesome.
That's amazing. Do you like those? Thank you, by the way. Do you like those like NCIS? Like those?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. That's my go-to. When I want to sit on the couch and just chill out and be brain numb for 2 hours, I just put on NCIS, and I'm like, you could fall asleep through 3 of them, wake up in 5 minutes, you're caught up with all of them, right?
CSI Vegas was always one that I love, or the original CSI.
The original one. Yeah.
Really good.
I used to come home to my apartment in Colorado, sit in my chair. I had a Maine Coon cat that weighed 29 pounds, and he would sit on my lap, and I would eat a tube of Pringles and drink a 2-liter bottle of Sprite while I watched CSI Vegas.
That's the life. That's the life. As long as they're the cheddar Pringles, those are the.
Oh, those are the best. Those are the best.
Those are the barbecue. Both of those are fire.
The vinegar ones, the salt and vinegar. You try those?
No, I'm a pretty picky eater, so if I see the word vinegar, I'm usually pretty quick to hop away. But maybe I need to give them a try.
Oh, they're in the blue can. Oh boy, those are good.
Okay.
So true crime. What's cool about the ones that she's doing is you never see my face.
Sure.
Right. So it's all suggestive. It's me coming out of a tractor trailer. It's me pulling up, and you see me in my hat. And it's all
sunglasses and yeah.
Yeah, and so you'll get a kick out of this, and it's not going to give much away. But driving a semi, and this dude I didn't know anything about it because she calls, and I'm like, yeah, just tell me when and where. What do I need to wear? I don't care. I'm helping you out. I'm getting paid. Cool. And I'm part of a movie, And so as I'm sitting around, because as you can imagine, there's just a ton of sitting around for my position, right? I'm learning what this guy did. When it comes out, I'll send it to you. It's brutal. Even for me, even because I'm kind of numb to that stuff because I watch it all the time and listen to it and doing all that. And I was like, whew. And the director comes up and he goes, okay, stand facing in the sleeper. Right. And I was like, okay. He goes, this is where we have to get violent. This is where he beat her pretty bad. He goes, so we're going to be outside and filming in, and it's got to look like you're beating on somebody. And I was like, okay. done that before. So I can do that. And he goes, so I'm going to direct you. And when I say this word, I need you to do this. And when I say this word, you need to do this. We went through it. I said, okay. And he goes, action. And I start, and he goes, cut. And I was like, fuck, I fucked it up already? And he goes, sorry, man, that was on us. We weren't ready. And I was like, okay. I'm like, I don't want to do this a lot, especially this scene. It's been a long day already, and this takes a lot out of me. So how am I going to nail this in one shot, right? So I got thinking about this dude, still alive, by the way, and in prison. So I got thinking about this dude, and I'm like, I'm going to pretend that he's in the bed, and I'm beating on him. And I go, and I'm thinking to myself, nah, I can't get worked up about that. And then, dude, you have a son, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I have a son as well, 2 years old, a little over 2. And I go, and I got thinking that he did that to my son. Dude, he yelled action. And the next thing I remember, I'm standing there breathing all heavy, and it's all quiet. And the door opens. I'm like, I didn't hear him say cut, so I'm not moving. And the PA goes, hey, man. I go, and I just kind of turn my head a little bit. I go, we good? And he goes, yeah, dude, we're good. So apparently you've done that before? And I go, no, man, I just wanted to nail it on the first take. He goes, yeah, dude, you nailed it. And the guy that owns the rig goes, I had the suspension slammed all the way to the ground. He goes, you were moving that rig like there was 150 mile an hour wind hitting it.
Wow.
I was pissed, dude.
Wow. That's really good acting. I mean, maybe that's the path you need to keep looking at, serial killer actor.
Yeah, right. Just like I said, typocast, right? But the last one I did, and another one she had, I did it as well, and driving a pickup truck, but it was like the baseball glove on the ground is in focus, and there's a kid and an adult walking away, but it's out of focus.
Yeah,
you know that type of.
Yeah,
that's the kind of shooting they were doing. So you never see my face or anything like that, but. Yeah, as soon as it comes, it's going to be a while because they just filmed it. But do you like podcasts with true crime?
Yeah. I mean, I don't usually have a whole lot of attention span, so a lot of times listening to a full pod is a little bit of a chore for me. But I love watching the clips that come out, and I'll sometimes I'll go down the rabbit hole. Then if there's like a part 1, 10 minutes later I'm on part 11. If that makes sense. So I definitely, I don't usually seek out pods, but I will watch, especially true crime on like TikTok or YouTube.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. There's one that kind of fits your sense of humor that I've seen in your videos, and it's Last Podcast on the Left.
Okay.
And they do true crime, but it's funny.
Okay, I'll check it out.
Yeah, it's worth the check out. These guys are. It's just. They don't take lightly like the victims and stuff, but the criminals, dude, they let loose on these guys so hard.
Sure.
And I physically have had to pull over because I drive for a living. I drive a 17-foot work truck. And I've physically had to pull my truck over multiple times over the last couple of years because I'm laughing so hard. I'm like uncontrollably laughing about true crime. I'm like, I don't even know how this fucking makes sense, dude. What else are your hobbies, man? What else is going on with you outside of poker? I mean, that's for me, but No,
I love sports, love guitar, love music. But I'm a big football fan. Like it's when football season comes around, it's like my main thing. I mean, big Michigan State Spartan fan. That's like my team. But I've slowly been enjoying the Vikings, even though they suck and they just find ways to hurt you every time. So sports are big. I try to make music. I mean, I'll never release any music that I make, but I love making music.
Oh, that's so great.
And, those are my sports, music, and poker. That's kind of my, that's how you sum me up pretty quick.
And then you chase your family around, right?
Yeah. I do. I try to do my best on that side, but I'm mainly just the support system. The wife is, she's running the show for sure.
Oh, same here. Hey, man, dude, women rule the world.
Oh,
You
yeah.
know that 100%. You know,
You don't realize that until you have a kid, and then you realize how unneeded men are sometimes. You're just like, especially those first couple months, you're just like, what can I do to help? Because I feel like I'm very useless.
the absolute. Were you there for the birth of your child?
Mm-hmm.
So, the absolute useless I've ever felt in my life was she was in not labor, but she was induced, right? So she had the thing around her belly to keep the band around her belly, which was attached to a thing like an IV. And then she had an IV, and she's like, I have to use the bathroom. And I'm like, okay. So here she is using the bathroom, and I'm holding these two things, and I'm just standing there going, I feel so fucking useless, right? Like, it's a great feeling, but it's just so weird. And then when she's given birth, you're just like, what do I do? I don't know what to do.
Yeah. It was a nice reset for me. Like, it kind of reset a lot of things in my mind, right? Like, 'cause for a long time, it's like, I'm number one. I'm the driving force of everything. And then you just kind of realize you're like, I'm a really good third string player on this team. You know, like, I can come in when everybody's hurt and they need me to, hand the ball off a couple times, but I'm not the star quarterback of the squad anymore. And that was a good moment. It's a good moment to have.
That's a great analogy, because my wife is just a true badass. I mean, just watching her do her thing, and she's an executive, so she's just, her job pulls her in 1,000 different directions. And our son and me, I'm like, you're raising two boys, and she's like, I know. I'm like, oh, as long as you know that. But you bet on football?
Oh yeah, I'd be lying if I said I didn't. That is that's the first time I ever gambled in my life. I was 8 years old or like 10 years old in the Bahamas, and my sister's husband, she's a little bit older than me. He was like, "Hey, have you ever heard of a parlay?" And he introduced me to what a parlay is, and then he's like, "What teams do you like today?" And he went and put in the bet for me, and then we were sweating, college football together. And I was pretty young, and ever since then, I've just absolutely love betting on football. But it's brutal. It's a brutal sport to bet on, but I love it.
Oh yeah, oh absolutely. So my buddy, the whole time I was in Colorado, he's a Vikings fan, and I'm a Giants fan. So anytime they played, we would go to the bar, start a tab, and whoever lost has to pay the tab, right? So it's amazing in the fourth quarter when one team goes up, man, that guy starts buying all the beers and and vice versa. So that was a lot of fun. But I got married for the first time in 2008, and we're out in Vegas. Got married in Vegas, and it was in June or July. Anyway, June or July. So I go to bet on the Giants to win the Super Bowl. Right? Put $100 on them, and my dad was out with me at the time. I put $100 for him. It's 28-1. They fucking win, right? I was like, it's amazing. So then every year I would put $100 on them, because I'd go to Vegas June, July to play cards and all that, right? So as I'm out there, I put $100 on them. And then the next year the next time they beat the Patriots, at that time they were 44-1.
Wow.
Right? And I'm like, hey man, I'm just burning through my $2,800 that I won the first time. And about 2 weeks before the Super Bowl, I'm out there and I'm barbecued. Like, I can't even stand up straight. I am ripped through with drugs and alcohol. And I go to the casino down where you could make what are they? Not side bets. Jesus, I can't remember the name of them.
Prop bets?
Prop bets. Thank you. I remember taking all the money out of my pockets and putting it in a pile, and like taking a piece of the pile, go put that on 1274, taking some more and go put that on 823. And I made 3 prop bets. The one that was amazing. Do you remember the Super Bowl when the Giants beat the Patriots?
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. With the Tyree catch, right?
Yeah. So I had a prop bet that a 2-point conversion would be created in the first quarter. And I was like, ain't no fucking way that's going to happen. Like 4 plays in, they get a safety. And I was like, oh. I won so much money on that thing. So did my dad, because he didn't have the prop bets, though. He just had the one bet. But yeah, I don't bet on it anymore. I didn't even watch football in a minute, but yeah, those are my. You have any big wins betting on football?
It's funny when you bring up your dad. It reminds me of one of the most painful. So I when I first really started sports betting, like, obviously not when I was 8, but like when I was in a senior in college. I want to say it was the Seahawks Patriots Super Bowl, and I had been betting all year. I had won some money. I think I had like $500 in my account, which was a lot at the time. Like I was like, this is a lot. So I put it all on the Seahawks money line, and I watched the game with my dad, and we're just sitting there, and I didn't tell my dad because like I didn't want to get, I didn't want to, be like, Dad, I'm a gambler. And so we're watching the game. And he's like, that Gronkowski guy, he's just so big. I'm like, yeah, like he's good. And we're just making small talk through the whole game. And then there's the Seahawks look like they were in trouble, and then they threw the bomb, and Curse catches the ball on like the 6 or whatever. And I got up and I was like, Dad, I'm gonna win $500 right now. I put everything I have on the Seahawks. I knew it. And literally the next play, they throw the interception. I'm like standing up and I just fall down into the couch. I don't say anything. He doesn't say anything. He just pats me on the shoulder, stands up, and walks out of the room.
Oh,
it sits in my belly. And then the next semester is when I started at the NFL and for my job. And they had me editing was this Malcolm Butler interception. And I was just like, this just brutal. So that one sits in my head as one of the most painful losses of all time.
Nothing like have to relive it over and over and over and slow motion cut.
Nothing better than being on the wrong side of a monumental moment of history. That's the worst.
Yeah. And then, so one thing I got to ask you, because I've played cards pretty much all over the world, because for a long time before our son was born, my wife and I love to travel. And she knows that wherever we go, I'm going to find a poker game just to meet the locals and enjoy the game in whole, right? And I got a couple just absolute crazy stories, and you got to have some, right?
Yeah. You mean just like from a poker table, or just like
like at the poker table?
Yeah, I mean, it's almost like, where do you start, right? I mean, a poker table is like people watching on steroids. So like there's so much stuff that happens when you're at a poker table. But like, I mean, this last time I was at World Series of Poker, I just cracked this guy's aces, and he swore at me for about an hour, just constantly, just swearing at me like across the table. I'm in seat 1, he's in seat like 7. So it's across the whole table. No one says anything, and I'm just like quiet. I'm a pretty quiet guy. So he's just like every word that you don't even hear some of those words anymore. And I was just like, what the hell? But so like that's that happens a lot, right? But one of the things that was crazy to me is I'm sitting down playing. There's like this pretty quiet 60, 70-year-old guy to my right who has slowly been drinking as the night goes on and on and on. And when I first sat down, since I'm a vlogger, he was kind of mad at me because I had my phone out, and he's like, I don't want to be on camera. And I was like, I have permission, man. I'm sorry. So he tried to get a seat change, and then he kept drinking. And so like he ended up just staying. They got the seat change to him, and he's like, no, I'm good. Like, because we're talking. And so finally he's like, sometimes this game, you don't need aces. You just need 4-5. That'll win. And I look down at my hands as he's saying that, and it's 4-5 offsuit. And this lady raises, like, we're playing 1-2. She raises like $35. So I was like, I'm calling this. Like, we're running it. And long story short, she flops trip aces, and I get a straight with 4-5 offsuit. And I won. I got it all on camera. I flipped over my hand, She looked like she was gonna just kill me. Like, why are you calling my $35 bet with 4-5? And this guy stands up. He goes, "What did I tell you?" That's a moment, a positive moment that stays in my mind. Is something that was pretty cool to see at a table.
Dude, I used to get so mad at people when I was playing. The guy that was teaching me eventually goes, I can't show you anything else. You just got to go play as many hands as possible and just learn, right? Because at first I was like, cards are cards. How can there be different levels of competition? Whew, you learn that quick.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm like, well, why can't you play 7-3 offsuit? I was asking these questions because why not? Some of the old school games, you're like, you're playing some crazy shit, right? And then, of course, you get into the math and all that. But after a while, you just get bored, especially when it first came out, people are only playing top 10 hands and this, that. And I'm like, I'm getting bored. So I would start playing 4-5, 7-8 suited, 9-10 suited, and just killing people. And they're like, you're not supposed to play those. And I'm like, says who? I like, this is my money. I could deal with it what I want, But there was this one at Caesar's Palace. So we're playing it was a big tournament. It was like a $1,200 tournament. And this guy at the end of the table, like 7, 8, 5, or I'm sorry, 6, 7 seat. No, 7, 8 seats somewhere in there, right on a curve. On the phone talking a mile a minute in some foreign language, right? And he was playing a hand at the same time, and the dealer's like, hey, man, can't be on your phone. And he'd wave him off, and talking. And then people are complaining, so the pit boss comes over, and he's a little tiny guy. And he comes over, and he says, sir, you can't. He goes, I paid for this. I can talk on the phone, gives him shit. So the pit boss just walks away, didn't even get mad or nothing. And the guy puts his phone down, like he's talking on it, but like puts it to his shoulder, looks at all of us and goes, see, they're not going to do anything about it, so y'all need to shut up. I'm going to talk on the phone if I want, And I'm like, whatever, dude. You're not bothering me none. And 20 minutes later, the pit boss comes back over, 2 big old dudes behind him in suits. And the pit boss goes, sir, and the guy goes, you know what? And the next thing you know, the guy's knees are hitting the table, and those 2 guys are fucking jacking him out. And another little dude comes over, scoops up his chips, and everything happens in like 4 seconds. It was like, whew. And the dealer pretended like it wasn't even going on. He's just like, your bet, sir. And I was like, that was amazing. Holy shit. I don't even know where that guy went. Of course, then all the casino movies you see, he's in the back room getting his hand smashed. And, of course.
Yeah.
Right. And then we're in California. My wife's from California. And we were in just outside of San Francisco. Where the hell were we? Anyway, she goes, hey, when I was growing up here, there was this little tiny card room called Artichoke Joe's. And I was like, well, I got to see. I mean, how can you not go to Artichoke Joe's, right? We come around the corner and it's built up. It's huge. It looks like a casino. I was like, oh, that's amazing. Go in there, nothing but table games. And I was like, all right. So I'm looking for a 1-2 no limit. And the lady goes, all we have is 1-3 limit. And I was like, all right, I'll rip through $100 just to say I played here, right? You're going to understand this because you get the game and people listening will understand it. So I sit down. I sit down on the big blind. I come in on the big blind. So I put my $3 out, and the dealer, deals to everybody. And I'm just, how when you sit down at a game, you're kind of relaxed. You want to hang out for a second, get settled in, something like that. And I'd look around. Everybody has called. The whole table put $3 out. It's Kaluna small blind. The dealer has got out the flop and is holding them face down, like ready to flip them and show them, and staring at me. Just like, I'm like, I look down, I'm like, check. She goes, poop. And the small blind goes, check. And I was like, check. And everybody puts $3 in. and she burns and holds the turn card down, looking at me, and I'm like, holy shit, Jesus, we're playing a slot machine. This is playing a slot machine. So, of course, I'm like, all right, it won't take me long to burn through $100. This is kind of entertainment for me, and that's kind of, I had that attitude. Well, this guy to my right, directly on my right, starts complaining that the guy on my left is taking too long. And I'm like, damn, dude. I mean, holy shit. And they start yelling at each other right across from me. Like I'm on the corner, probably like seat 3 or 4, right? So and I was like, Jesus, I'm thinking to myself, these guys got to calm down. They're getting fucking pretty heated. The guy stands up, other guy stands up, fucking clocks him. Pow! And I went, holy, like right in front of me, dude. I was like, this is amazing. So, of course, they get booted out fucking instantly. 2 other guys sitting out. And I had probably got $40 left. I'm like, Jesus Christ, I'm just going to donate my $100. Get out of here. I win a hand. I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. And the guy to my right, the new guy sat down and goes, yeah, for you, you're not trying to pay the rent. And I just, I'm out. I just scooped my chips up, put them in a rack and cashed out and left. I'm like, I don't need that shit, dude.
I'm trying to pay the rent, playing 1-3 limit.
Yeah, exactly. I didn't get into that. I was still buzzing from the guy fucking smacking the other guy right in front of me. Dude.
What a trip. You see stuff at casinos that you'd never think you'd see. And I feel like there's got to be something that they put, poker dealers and blackjack dealers through that they need to like sit in a room and they just show them everything that could ever happen at a casino. And they're like, and what you'll do is you'll deal another card when this happens. Like you're going to keep dealing. Never stop. I was at the casino here. There's tornado sirens are going on outside. Like I went inside and I was driving through the storm. I get there. I'm like, at least I'm, going to have like a basement to go to when I get in there. Those people are playing through the tornado sirens like nothing. No one is looking around. Everybody's phone is playing like the Amber Alert sound because there's a tornado and they are just dealing cards like nothing. And I was like, all right, well, I'm going to get on the list for 200.
Yeah. Might as well keep playing since
might as well put me on the list.
Shit, that casino's probably built to withstand a lot worse than that tornado could probably come through, right?
Yeah, they were betting on themselves, that's for sure.
Oh, I tell you what, the London. So part of our honeymoon, we went to London. We had a 3-week honeymoon, and we went to London. And my wife goes, and we had some friends over there. She goes, I'm going to go visit these tea houses, and we're going to meet over here. I'm like, no, there's no we. No, I'm not going to the tea house. And she goes, yeah, I know. You're going to the casino. I'm meeting my friends over here. And I'm like, okay. That was a great casino. And I was talking to people from China and India and Africa. It was super cool. And that's part of the reason I really enjoy playing in other countries is, especially in Europe, man, the different people that and you got something common, you want to sit down and play cards, right?
Yeah.
And that's part of the reason I enjoy the game as well.
I think it's interesting that like you could play a game of blackjack and you could play a game of poker, and you're usually going to talk more friendly to the people playing poker than you would at the blackjack table, which is so bizarre because I feel like at the blackjack table, everybody thinks you're messing them up or like you're going to lose for them or you got to play by the book, but you're all on the same team, but you all of a sudden kind of hate each other. And then in poker, you're all against each other, but somehow there's a camaraderie to it.
Yeah. Well, you're a sports fan and I relate. I used to play a lot of sports. I truly enjoy the competition and the camaraderie as a locker room, like played hockey, football, martial arts, all that stuff. And with poker, I tell people all the time, yeah, I want to crush your fucking throat, dude, but we can sit here and have a good conversation, but just know that I want to take all your chips. You know, we can act like we're buddies, dude, but no, really, I want all your money. So.
That's honestly the biggest cheat code I've found in tournaments is to become super friendly to the person on your right. And I don't know why that's slowly become a thing, but what happens is if you're really friendly with that person on the right, and it's not every person, but I found specifically if I just take time to talk to them and not in a malicious way, but just like get to know them, when you're short stacked, like say you're the big blind and it comes around to your blinds, they play a small little bit less aggressive towards you. So they'll limp into your big blind more, or sometimes give you a walk. And I looked at this guy and I was talking to him a bunch, and he limped in, and I just jammed, and he open folded ace 10. And I was like, that's crazy that you're just folding ace 10 to my 10 big blind jam here. And he's like, I'm sure you had better. And I was like, I got 10 bigs. Like, I got 9-10 suited here. You got me crushed. But if you talk to that person on your right, everybody's focused on the guy on your left, but the guy on your right is actually the small blind into your big blind. So during tournaments, it's just something to think about.
Yeah, that's pretty cool, because as soon as you brought it up, the last time I played down in Pennsylvania, there's a guy from a couple towns away from me in Jersey, because I always ask. I'm super friendly at the table, and he did that a couple times. I was in a spot, and so that does make sense. Now I'm going to be conscious of it, but yeah, I always enjoy good conversation and jabbing and stuff like that. And even in sports, I was I was a right defensive end football, and I'd tackle you, and as you got up, I'd step on your chest to put you back down. And
I thought you say, "Good, nice try, man. You'll do better." But
no, yeah, exactly, yeah, kind of like that. And I tell you, I was going to eat your kids and shit like that, dude. I was not. I am ultra competitive, dude. Especially in sports, man. Even my son. So real quick, you got a 2-year-old son. Since mine could walk, he has this ball, right? He could easily handle. And we came up with this game that he was trying to get it past me. So he'd throw it or do something to get it past me. Dude, I'm telling you, I did everything, and I still do to this day, everything in my athletic ability to stuff it in his face. And my wife's like, he's 2, bro. And I'm like, yeah, but look when he does get it past me, look how happy he is. He's like super, and now he's to the point, like, he fakes me out. Like, he'll run up and like do a fake pass and then like throw it underneath I'm like, God damn, see, look, he's 2.5 and he's trying to fake me out. So just trying to put a little competitive edge in him. You gotta be competitive, and you gotta get used to losing, and you gotta be able to take an L, dude.
Oh yeah. If you can't take an L in life, you're gonna take a lot of them. That's for sure.
Yeah, that is for sure. But again, all right, man. So thanks for coming on, bud. We're gonna close it down. I like to keep them about this length.
Yeah.
But I want to give you the mic for a few minutes. Just give me your elevator pitch. Obviously, everything will be in the show notes as well. But let everybody know what you're up to, and tell everybody what you want to know or what they want to know.
Yeah, I mean, I think if I could leave anybody with anything, it's just, if you believe that you can do something, then you can do it. There's really no reason why you can't do something. And so the only way that you're not going to accomplish stuff that you want to set out to do is if you just shut yourself down. Because one person can say no, another person can say no, but there are millions of people in this world, and it really only takes 1 or 2 yeses in order to get things going. So like when I started my podcast, I just needed that first person to say yes. I've had a lot of people say no, but I've had 4 people say yes, and those 4 people have drastically changed my life. And so if you're out there and you're dealing with no's, like we talked about, taking some L's, just keep putting yourself out there. Don't end on a miss, Don't end on a miss. That would be what I'd say.
Oh, I like that. Don't end on a miss. So we're going to end this, and it's not on a miss, my man.
Thanks so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
Yes, thank you, man. Hang on tight, will you?
Yep.
Man, I told you he had one hell of a story. I really enjoyed talking to Casino King, and the link is in the show notes if you want to get a hold of him, and I bet you he would love to hear from you. And when you do, give him some shit for me, too. All right, man, I'm going to get you out here because I know you got shit to do, but after you're done giving Casino King a bunch of shit for me, jump over and see Craig over at High Speed Daddy and the crew at Live Rishi. Again, links are in the show notes. I like to sign off with interesting fact and to stick along with the poker theme. The longest poker game ever played, continuous poker game, took place in the Birdcage Theater in Tombstone, Arizona back in the day, and I think it was 1891. It lasted 8 years, 5 months, and 3 days. Man, look that up if you want a bunch of details. A lot of high rollers and famous people rolled through there. and I think it was around $10 million exchanged completely, through the 8 years, and Birdcage Theater got 10% of that. Boom! There you go. And of course, if you liked what you heard, want to pass that along, that would be great. That's the only way I grow this show is organically. Give me a 5-star rating or write a review or tell a friend. 7. My man. Don't act cool. Be cool. Till next time.